Welcome to the next episode of Brandland. I am your host, Garrett Justice, and I'm excited to welcome a special guest today. I'm joined by Luke Schoenbeck. He's the marketing director at Mark 7 Equipment. Luke, it's great to have you here.
Hey, thank you, Garrett. Glad to be here.
Did I say your last name right there?
Yes, you nailed it.
Awesome. Well, again, so happy to have you here, and I'm really excited to jump into our topic today. But before we do that, would you mind telling our listeners just a little bit more about your background, your career so far, and also Mark 7 and what your company does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from South Dakota, and that's where I got my degree from in entrepreneurial studies, focusing in marketing. From there, I actually worked in an agency for about 3 years. That was a B2B agency. Then from there, I moved to Denver, Colorado, and got my master's degree in business with a focus in marketing. And I was hired by Mark 7 from there, where I've been for closing in on 4 years now. And I've been running the marketing department for two of those years.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about Mark 7.
So we are a part of the largest global car wash equipment manufacturer. So Mark 7 covers North America, primarily US and Canada. Our parent company, WashTech, as I said, is the largest global equipment manufacturer based in Germany. And so what we primarily do is manufacture car wash equipment. What we're most known for within that is rollover equipment. So when you pull into a convenience store and you park your car and that car wash goes back and forth over your car, it's a fair chance we may have actually been the ones to manufacture that. We also do tunnel car wash equipment as well. Those are the ones where you put a neutral on the conveyor and it pulls you through. So we do that as well. We also create the chemicals, service the equipment, provide site marketing and business advice. So really A to Z when it comes to car wash.
That's awesome. Yeah, so cool. I think I probably used some of your equipment last week when I went through the car wash. That's very cool. It's like one of those hidden businesses that exists out there. That's this big global thing that not a lot of people know about. So we're super excited to have you on the show here today.
Yeah, thank you. That's the fun thing about the B2B world is we shine when our customers shine. So it's not about putting our brand out there necessarily. It's about making our customers look good. So,
I love that the we shine piece too kind of just ties right into the car wash, right? It seems like your line there. That's great. Well, tell us a little bit more about kind of your team and the makeup there at Mark 7.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm the marketing director. In-house, it's me and then a marketing specialist who reports to me. So really just a team of two that runs things in North America. Plenty more on the global marketing team, but I'm actually not at our headquarter office. I work remotely from upstate New York. Our headquarters is just outside of Denver, Colorado. And so it's the two of us running the marketing show. And we have a number of agency and other vendor partners to make it all work.
It's a lot of work for two people. I know that. So, well, I think that's a great transition into our topic today. So before we jumped on, Luke and I were talking a little bit more about, what do we want to talk about today? And he had talked about how through this transition with COVID-19 and so many companies, I think, are in a similar boat where many people who don't normally work from home are transitioning to work from home. And also from a marketing perspective, so many of our marketing dollars are being rethought and reallocated. So I know for us, for example, we attend a lot of trade shows. It sounds like that's something similar for you, Luke. And so many of those have been canceled through the end of the year. So what do we do from a marketing perspective to continue to grow our brands and drive business? And so we want to talk a little bit about that shift today. And I want to pick Luke's brain on that, rethinking some of those physical marketing activities and transitioning those to more of a digital strategy. And I think, Luke, I'm excited to dive in and talk about this, shall we?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so I guess just to start us off, tell us a little bit about how COVID-19 has affected your business. And when did you kind of realize that you had to shift gears and rethink the strategy when it came to marketing?
Yeah, so it first hit me. It was the first week of March. I was flying up to Toronto to do a video shoot and attend a convention, all in, two birds, one stone, and going through customs there and back in that first week of March with everyone working at the airport in masks and gloves. And I was like, this isn't going away. This is going to be a really big deal. And then within a week after that, when I got back to the States is when I believe WHO announced that this is a global pandemic. It's like, okay, this is really real. And that's when we decided we need to make a shift because the normal marketing you do is just white noise now. You got to do something a little bit different and adjust your strategy. And from the business perspective, it became really, really important to be accountable for every dollar you're going to spend and not just make it fivefold, try to make it 15-fold if anything you're going to do, because everyone's reeling back, and car washes is no different. People aren't out there washing their cars as much if they're not traveling as much, if they're staying home. Therefore, people aren't going to replace their car wash equipment nearly as quickly. It kind of goes hand in hand. So we had kind of batten down the hatches and be ready for a couple months where we really had to watch those dollars. So that's right at the start of March. I think we were, I'd say, on the front end of a lot of, well, certainly in our business sector, but of a lot of businesses, of we need to make a big adjustment here and understand that things aren't going to be business as usual for quite a while. And especially in those face-to-face pieces of sales and marketing. So for us in marketing, the biggest face-to-face thing is, of course, those trade shows for us. So that's where a complete shift happened on our end. And we decided to take it all digital, essentially. Our trade shows it wasn't just that they decided to restructure the trade shows. I mean, they just all went away. They're gone, not happening in 2020. So we took it upon ourselves. Let's create digital trade shows. And so we have now executed 2 of those and had hundreds of attendees specifically coming to us to learn about car wash equipment, car wash best practices, and learning not just about us, but about what's happening in the industry. And so that was the hugest shift we made.
Yeah, I love that. I want to dive into that a little bit further and kind of understand what you did for those kind of virtual trade shows or virtual events that you put on, the car wash, as you call it. I like that. I think that's great. I mean, before we do that though, I think it's kind of interesting to point out too that, especially a product like yours, which I imagine is, you're not selling cheap car washes that someone can put in their backyard, right? You're selling these to businesses. And so there's probably been a big impact with COVID as everyone's kind of pulled back on the purse strings a little bit. So I think this is like an excellent example to kind of learn from and dive in. And so before we dive into the example of, I want to learn a little bit more about this digital car wash, virtual car wash that you've done. But talk to me a little bit more about how your marketing spend has transitioned. Obviously, it's transitioned away from some of those physical events that you were planning to go to this year. Have you been able to get some of that back or credits for next year? And especially, we talked a little bit about the paid side too. What have you done there on the paid side, and where is your spend going now?
Our spend now is going, essentially, it's entirely focused on thought leadership and really human pieces of marketing, human stories. So when we look at things like AdWords, display advertising, other advertising, e-newsletters, a lot of these pieces that felt like business as usual, things that are part of the marketing 101, we essentially just shut them off. I mean, it's all just noise right now. It doesn't feel like the time to try to sell, which is tough because to stay in business, you have to sell. So you kind of have to rethink what message is going to resonate with people right now, because they don't care about seeing a picture of our car wash necessarily with the brush spinning, cleaning the car. Yeah, obviously that's what we do, but that's not how we tell our story right now. Right now, our story is told by letting car wash owners know we're here for you. We're going to be here for thought leadership, the right information about how your business can weather the storm of COVID, how your business can keep your customers safe, things like that. So it was shifting away from these standard digital pieces and focusing in on creating content that is really human and really much about thought leadership. And how we disseminate that is still through some of the standard channels. We're still going to send some emails. We're still doing our social posts. And then it's this digital piece of webinars or conventions, as we're calling them, that's really taking over for us and really has really become impactful.
I love that. I think that's just so smart and shows, like your depth of expertise when it comes to marketing. I think so many companies right now are unsure what to do when it comes to marketing. But I love that you reverted back in this situation to storytelling, focusing on the customer needs, building your brand. And I think that those are all things that have been proven time and time again to have a long-term lasting impact on it. So bravo, great job.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I want to dive into it and understand a little bit more about this, these virtual events that you're doing. So tell us a little bit more about these 2 events that you've done and some of the impacts you've had from those.
Yeah, definitely. So the first one was in response to, so our biggest convention that we would normally have is called it's the car wash show put on by the International Car Wash Association, which is every April. and that was canceled for the year. Of course, April, nothing's happening back in April. So we decided, let's just do our own virtual car wash convention. And we put on, over the course of 2 days, we put on 8 webinars around various topics that really just not about our products. It was the Mark 7 convention, but it wasn't really about Mark 7. We had our employees, some of our customers on, and we talked about car wash best practices and best practices if you have that rollover, the one that you park and it goes over your car, or if you have that conveyor tunnel, your best practices for marketing. I hosted one. We had one on chemicals. We did one specifically for the US, one for Canada about best practices. We really just took 2 days to just help our customers, and not even our customers, anyone could have logged in. It was all free. So anyone could log in and learn about what's happening for car wash owners with COVID. What are things they can be looking forward to, hopefully later this year, things coming around the corner as far as car wash innovation and what's going on in our car wash world, and just trying to connect some people. But the initial convention, we had over 160 attendees and over 300 registrants. So people were attending more than one event, which is great. And then because of the success of that event, we said, let's make this regional, kind of like take the show on the road. So just 3 weeks ago now, we did a Southwest version of it where we did it all again, but honed in on that Southwest region, because there's a lot of nuances in the car wash industry. And then of course, nuances in how people are handling COVID throughout the United States. So we put a panel event together of car wash owners from the Southwest region, talked about some of the different chemical mixes you need because road conditions, all these different aspects that are unique to the Southwest. And we had another really nice turnout and a great show. And so we're just going to keep doing this throughout the year and hit more of the Eastern US, maybe take it up to Canada, and just really hit these webinars in a convention style where we put on a full day of events. And just, yeah, it puts our brand out there, it grows our brand, but it's really about giving back with this thought leadership, with our expertise. And like I said, this is information. Maybe you're a customer, maybe you're not, but this is helpful information for the car wash community.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I know, that's a huge feat, especially for a 2-person marketing team of, all those webinars over the course of 2 days. So I want to get into in just a minute, some of the tools and tips. I know you have a list of awesome tools that I know have probably helped you out through this process. I guess before that though, I think that, it's been pretty awesome hearing you talk about this, and it's kind of inspiring, a lot of different ideas that, I could do on our marketing team or other companies could do as well. What would you say kind of the takeaway is, or the learning that you've had through doing these events? If you were to kind of sum it up in one takeaway or learning, what would that be? So
I think it seems obvious that you want to provide good content, but what you need to really have buttoned up is the logistics. Just make sure your Wi-Fi connection's strong, things like that. That can really trip you up, and make sure the people who are hosting each event know what they're doing, whether using Zoom meeting or Microsoft Teams, whatever you're using. Make sure they know how to use it, do a practice run. One of our events, the individual hosting the event, who was just one of my coworkers, he didn't realize that when you turned on your PowerPoint presentation into present mode in Zoom, you had to double click the screen to let your computer know, hey, go back to PowerPoint. So he was having trouble transitioning his slides, and we're live with our audience like, oh man, seems like that.
Yeah.
Should have practiced that one. We could have solved that real easily, but it took a minute, and it's not a great look. So just something we learned on the fly in our first round of events.
Awesome. That's good. I mean, I think that's a great reminder, is sometimes we think about the big picture and forget the small details, right? But I love that as you guys have gone through this, it sounds like you're focusing on, I heard someone else say a couple months ago as COVID started, serve, not sell. And I really liked that. It sounds 100%. Like you're focusing on that, serve, not sell right now, which is awesome. How have you gone about promoting these events and finding the right people who might be interested in something like this?
Yeah, we actually, after each event, we did a survey, like, how did you hear about this? So we like to back everything we do with data. It's golden for me. But we found the most effective channel was still our emails. I think some people are just shutting down email campaigns, and I don't think that's the right way to go. It's more about just sending the right emails right now. People are still looking for information. They're at home more than ever. So if you're not trying to sell to them, if you're just sincerely trying to do something thoughtful, email still works. And that was our number one driver for attendance. Number two was we released press releases throughout the various industry publications that relate to car wash, and even somewhat into the automotive or convenience store segment. and then our social media posts, and then just a little bit of word of mouth around the car wash community helped out. There's a lot of forums out there, things like that. And all it took was having someone share a link to our landing page, and we could get a few more people to register.
Love it. Great tips. We've been doing a lot of webinars, as most companies have, the last few months as well. And similar, I mean, I think we sometimes overlook the value of just a really good email. Yep. And I just being in those veins where people are, word of mouth, it can be huge, right? We totally undervalue that, especially when we're serving and not selling. So yes. Awesome. Well, I guess just to wrap this up, I mean, I want to talk real quick about the executional feat it was for a 2-person marketing team to put something on like that. And I know you mentioned at the beginning, you have some great tools, many of which are free, right? That you'd love to share that can kind of help through this process and help as many of us are feeling like we need more time, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Would you mind sharing that? Yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah. So I love finding those free or freemium tools that are out there. So I narrowed it down to just 5 of them. And the first one that was hugely helpful for putting these events together on the registration side was Eventbrite. And I think people are pretty much familiar with Eventbrite, at least as far as you've registered. I guarantee most people have registered for an Eventbrite event before, but maybe you haven't used it to make your own events. And all I can say is it's incredibly easy to work with. And the great thing is, if you're putting on a free event, Eventbrite itself is free, and they give you all the contact information if you're collecting leads and a lot of analytical tools along with it. So I love Eventbrite for that registration piece. And then also SurveyMonkey, which is another pretty common one, also free when you're using it at the basic level. So that's how we collected data after each event from our attendees about what they liked and how easy, difficult was it to register. How'd you hear about us? SurveyMonkey was fantastic. And then 3 other more general tools that related to putting these virtual events together, but we just use all the time. Asana is a product management tool or project management tool that we use. And again, if you're using it at a very basic level, I think if it's 12 or fewer users, it's free. And that's web-based, can load in all your projects and into the details, due dates, calendars, all the things you need. Love Asana. And then Keywords Everywhere is a really cool one. It's a Chrome plugin. So you type in, search a term in Google, it'll tell you what the most relevant keywords are and related search terms. And that's free. It's incredible that you can just type something in and get all this valuable data with Keywords Everywhere. And then the last one that I love is Vidyard, which is a recording tool. So you can record your browser screen. It'll save it for you, share it as a link. So we do a lot of, we've been doing some internal projects. Like we used to give away tickets to Nuggets games, and I created a kind of Wheel of Fortune style spinning wheel in my browser with the names of everyone who entered to win the game, win the Nuggets tickets. And then I'd record the screen, send out the link, and then people would find out, get to open the link, watch the video, and find out who won the Nuggets tickets for the week. So
awesome.
Just one tool that records your browser, again, free.
Awesome. Those are great tips, great tools. I use many of those too. I mean, we're in Asana every day here on our team. We're using that and so many of the others. So thank you for those tips. I guess as we kind of wrap up here and we think about, some of these insights that you've shared, what do you think the long-term ramifications might be? So as things, hopefully soon, right, get back to normal for everyone and we're back in the groove. Do you think that your marketing strategies will revert back to what you've done before, or do you plan to continue doing more of what you've done recently with some of these shifts to digital and virtual events?
Yeah, I think some things will go back to closer to normal. I mean, we're going to be back at trade shows. That's not going to stop. In 2021, at least, I think we'll be back at it. But I think a lot of things, what I'm hearing from other marketers is that we're learning a lot of things we were doing. Maybe we weren't getting the ROI we thought we were. Maybe there are a lot of these things we can do more cost effectively and we get a bigger return on them. I mean, for example, the virtual event we did, this conference we did 3 weeks ago, we put very little into it financially. I mean, we had graphic design work done by the designer we were already working with on retainer. We already had the Zoom meeting account, and all these things were already baked into place for us, and we just turned it into this virtual event. And I'm not going to stop doing that. We just, we helped out a lot of people. We got to meet a lot of new people in the car wash world, and it essentially cost us nothing. Why would we stop? Let's keep pushing. Let's keep pushing into this digital front of these virtual events. I think that's something that that we're going to be sticking with, it's a big lift, but the return is incredible. Like I said, maybe we were trying to get fivefold for every dollar we spend. Maybe now 15-fold should become not just aspirational, but something realistic, because we're finding these new tools out there and people are more receptive to doing things virtually. You don't have to fly across the country to shake someone's hand. You can do something like this, and that's great. So I think the sales world has completely been turned upside down, and I don't know if that's ever going to go back to quite business as usual. But I think that's hand in hand with the marketing world has been completely flipped, and what resonates with people, and us understanding that these channels where we talked about benefits over features, it's kind of like marketing 101. Maybe there's better messaging out there. Maybe there's better ways to do it. Maybe helping our customers in a very sincere way with thought leadership is something that we should have been doing anyway. Maybe that's just where we go from here. We're not about selling, we're about serving. And I don't ever want to stop doing that now. I love this tactic that we're using, that we just sincerely want to help the car wash community. And maybe, hey, if next time they want to reload their car wash equipment, hey, they think about those people who actually helped them out when they didn't need us. And that's something I want to stick with. So I hope that is something that stays with marketers as we move forward, that we're here to serve and provide quality information, not sell, but serve, like you said.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great advice. And I agree. I hope that that's the same thing that happens. I think that this is a very, very unique time for marketers and creatives, people who are building brands, because the constraints force us to be more creative, and a lot of innovation can come through that. Is what you've talked about today. Is what we've seen with a lot of companies. And so I hope that continues as well, that we continue focusing on the long-term view versus the short-term dollar, and continue to help build these brands. So, wow, this has been awesome. This has been a great, great conversation today, Luke. I really appreciate it. As we wrap up here, what's a tangible action or something that you would leave our listeners with that they could take and apply today in their businesses? Yeah,
absolutely. One thing that I think goes right with this kind of thought leadership and servant attitude is be human. When you're just, I would like put that above your desk, just 2 words, be human. When you're thinking about the content you're creating, is it human? Is it conversational? Do you feel like you're trying to be a salesperson, or do you feel like you're just creating a conversation with someone? Just be human and tell those really great stories around this human ideology, because that's what I think marketing should be, is thoughtful and human.
Love it. Be human. I need that on a bumper sticker or something. Yeah. We need that printed out, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Luke. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts and your insights and your story with us today. As we wrap up today, what's the best way for our listeners to stay in touch with you or reach out if they have further questions?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always on LinkedIn. It's just Lucas Schoenbeck. I think I'm the only person with my name, so pretty easy to find usually. And then I'm happy to share my work email as well. That's just L, and then my last name, Schoenbeck, SCHOENBECK, at Mark7, MARKVII.net. So either of those are great ways to reach me.
Thank you so much, Luke. This has been excellent. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of the day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.